Okay, this is the end of chapter 2, Conceive of the Super Puzzle. I feel as though I'm gaining the keys to success and learning the secrets of life, Jake said, interrupting the story being told. How could anyone have a problem with that? That toad started it all, Angie said in disgust. Burke, Jake guessed. Yeah, Jesse said, shaking his head. While Miss Annabelle was creating little geniuses for the world and helping their parents, one jerk was quietly spreading cancer seeds throughout the staff. Seeds grow, you know. In retrospect, had I known it back then, I would have scared that loser right out of town. My husband's right. Being rejected by Miss Annabelle, Burke went on a quiet mission of revenge. None of us knew it. He quietly told a handful of staff members, privately on an individual basis, so no one could pinpoint the source that started those rumors that Miss Annabelle had been talking about the act of sex to her students. He took her valuable discussion out of context and made it seem perverted. What a bastard, Jesse said under his breath. It's hard to recover from this type of accusation, you know, even if it's completely false, Angie continued. Soon the staff started talking among themselves. Miss Annabelle came under suspicion. The principal summoned her class recordings, which unfortunately had not started soon enough to have captured her valuable lecture on love. With tainted, preconceived notions, the principal concluded that the new teacher was strange and needed to be monitored. The thought that Miss Annabelle had done something wrong made everything she did that was brilliant with the kids seem as though it did not belong. Like something weird, something too different, Jessie said. After all, the public school's definition of an education was to prepare the children to fit in, Angie said. And Miss Annabelle was different. She was not about to teach her kids to conform. Besides, the principal of the school at the time was a mean-spirited woman who seemed to hate kids, Jessie said. I noticed she didn't like Miss Annabelle. How could she? Miss Annabelle represented the child. She was everything good and wonderful. The principal was not. Miss Annabelle was the essence of happiness. The principal was the essence of misery. Miss Annabelle reflected the beauty in life. The principal reflected the ugliness in life. So Miss Minor was quick to dig into the rumors with grave concern. The rumors now escalated into an investigation and got on the agenda of the school board meeting. The negative thoughts about Miss Annabelle were spreading fast, and the envy fanned the flames. Here was an opportunity to tie down her free spirit. You know, this is really what's happening today, when you think about it. When you have people that want to talk to others, especially kids, out of the box, they take it out of, they take it out of context. Miss Annabelle seemed unfettered. She had no idea, however, of the dangerous sexual theme simmering beneath the gossip. The more the gossip spread and the more strange looks she got from staff and faculty, the more she pulled out all the stops and poured her love and free thinking into her lectures and onto her students. The growing disapproval of her actually freed her to cut the disapprovers out of her constant considerations that tended to make her lectures a bit conservative. Removing them from the equation was like taking the last impurity out of a chemical solution needed to set off the powder reactor explosion. Her lectures now freely blew apart the matrix of illusions that trapped adults in a suppressed anti-civilization. She loved her kids and they loved her. The bond grew so strong that its positive current swept her students away from anything destructive. The parents were delighted by their children's attitude toward school and life. Defamed yet unfettered, devoted and determined, that combination of events and emotions brought out the most eloquent Miss Annabelle. Her lectures were stirring for her 8 and 9-year-olds, for 39-year-olds, and for 69-year-olds. She worked late into the evening, cutting through appearances in this world of illusions, created by the media, academia, the establishment, politicized big businesses, organized religion, the legal profession, the government, by the many freeloaders, by those who drain or tear down values instead of contributing to or building values. She pierced through to the essence of things, where the real power in life resided. If her students could grow up with their minds focused not on appearances, but on the essences of life, they would build powerful puzzles of ideas that would take them to the new levels, to puzzle pictures never seen before. They would become the power players, the value creators, the money-powered giants. She was not going to let anything in the world suppress those 12 children. Something inside her, something from her past, gave her a keen awareness of the life-destroying world of appearances and illusions. Something she would captivate her pupils over and beyond. You know, I'm reading this, and it always brings me back to experiences I've had. There's a little boy in my class this summer whom I worked with his mother. She has like 6 kids, and they came from Puerto Rico. They lived in New York, and now, of course, they're living in New Jersey. And he's, I would say, a little on the slow side. And I'm thinking that he said something to me Friday that sort of touched me. When it was time to leave to go home at 1 o'clock, he said to me, "You know, I enjoyed being in your class." And you know, when kids say things like that to you, it gets you right here. But I could tell that he, whatever class he was in during the year, I just think they might have been moving too fast for him.
Yeah.
Because I'm noticing that I have to repeat things to him, but then later on he gets it. But he's supposed to be going into, I believe, because I have a combination of kids going to 5th and 6th grade. I think he's going into 5th grade, but
Is that an inclusion?
yeah, he needs another setting in order for him to be able to keep up. So that's part of the problem. You know, we are trying to mainstream them sometimes a little too fast, and so therefore we're leaving some of them behind because they're not able to keep up with the pace.
Okay.
But his mother is very receptive. During the rise in controversy at Duncan Elementary School, a situation arose that made all of Miss Annabelle's problems shrink by comparison. In early November, a little girl's parent visited Miss Annabelle. The mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. The doctor said she had only maybe a few months or up to 2 years to live. Well, in Miss Annabelle's classroom that evening, overlooking the empty little chairs and desks, Sally's mother struggled to talk clearly. "What should we do for poor Sally?" her mother asked, as a large tear, then another, escaped her eyes. Consciously, Miss Annabelle did not know how to answer that, but the answer to her surprise came rushing from her self-conscious. Make every day for her beautiful. Send her to school so her mind keeps growing. When she gets home, spend as much time together as your energy allows. Make beautiful memories together that will last Sally's entire life. Of course, let her be with friends sometimes, which will give her some experience of life without you. Gently, consistently prepare her for when the time comes when she must go on without you. The love you give Sally these few precious months must last a lifetime. From that evening onward, Sally's mom spent almost all her afternoons and evenings with Sally, making every day precious. They did everything together and reached a love so special that they at times felt almost lucky. That night, Miss Annabelle could not fall asleep. She lay awake, knowing she could not protect Sally from the pain she would endure. What is the essence of death? She sat up in bed wondering, is there something beyond the appearances? She got out of bed and went to her desk. I must break through. I must break through. Miss Annabelle's heart sank when she watched Sally come through the door the next morning. She knew. Her eyes were wide with fear and lost in pain. A helpless, hopeless burden no one so young and tender should have to bear. Miss Annabelle watched Sally walk to her desk, lost in her pain, unaware of the other children. Sally sat and dropped her head down on her desk, and of course, she started to sob. Miss Annabelle, overwhelmed by the sight of the little girl in such grief, put her hand over her mouth as she fought to keep from crying herself. She walked over, she knelt beside the little girl, and she put her hand on her shoulder. In one quick motion, Sally jerked around, and buried her face into Miss Annabelle's shoulder. They hugged tightly for several minutes. The other children behaved like little adults, and they sat quietly at their desks, knowing that their friend was very sad. So I guess you gather her mother had passed on. The other children silently watched Miss Annabelle and Sally. Children, Sally's mother had an illness called cancer. Miss Annabelle felt Sally's grip tighten as she spoke. Who of you here wants to someday discover cures to illnesses and diseases? Well, Sally eased her grip and she lifted her eyes from Miss Annabelle's shoulders to see all of her classmates raise their hands. I want to save Sally's mom, one little girl said. Again, you know, when I read things like this, it reminds me so much of children that I've come in contact with. There's a young lady, I have a picture of her. Her name was Brianna. Her mother died when she was about 10 years old. And it was during the summertime. And the little girl came down the steps to the playground as I was getting out my car. And she said to me, Miss Dabney, can I tell you something? So I knew her mom was sick, but I didn't know her mom was terminally ill. Right. And so when she walked over to me, I really thought she was going to tell me something else, which I'm not going to go into right now. But she said, my mother died this morning. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Are you okay? She said, yes, I'm okay. I was with my mom last night. Well, this young lady used to call me grandma. And I used to bring her home from after school because she was living with her father and her brothers. She did have a grandmother, but she called me grandma at school.
That's nice of you.
She's graduating this year from college.
Wow, nice.
And she, what do you call it, FaceTime, whatever. I'm not familiar with all those terms. But recently she sent me a picture. I thought she was going to graduate in this past May or June, but she said no, she has one more course to take. Well, in the last year or two, she lost her father now. So she doesn't have a father or a mother. But I mean, she's dealing with it because she has other relatives to help her. Right. And then her grandmother had a stroke. I was just telling Larry the other day about this story. The school called me one day, that was many years ago, and said, Miss Dabney, we need you to get in touch with her grandmother. I said, well, what's the problem? Because I was at home. They said, well, we're going to send diapers over to the home because it seems like she's not being cared for properly. She's not coming to school clean, and there was some other issues going on, and the kids were teasing her. So I said, well, let me see if I can reach her. So I called her grandmother, and the grandmother, of course, was at work, and grandma said, well, I don't know if I can get over to the school. I said, listen, I'm a grandmother too. If you don't want your grandchild to go into a foster home, you need to get over there because this is what might happen. So what happened was the grandmother left her job. She went to the school, and of course, diapers released her in the care of her grandmother. Good. But they said the home was deplorable. The child was just living in really, really bad conditions. And that's why I guess she was coming to school and she was so unkept. And kids were teasing her because kids would do that. Kids are very cruel to one another because they don't know the situation. Right. But thank goodness, she saw her way through with her grandmother's help and of course her father. They moved out of state. They actually moved to Virginia. So she's graduating from, I think it's Virginia Tech, I believe. I know she's graduating in Virginia because I told her I was going to try to come to her graduation.
Nice.
I noticed that about college. I planned every single class, right? And then when it was come time to graduate in June, I had to wait until January because I had to fulfill one more credit. Oh. And what class is one credit?
But that's what they do.
Right? Yeah. So this is real little trick. Didn't that happen to you too?
It happened to me too.
Really?
So there's a little trick.
School,
so you can tell your granddaughter or whomever,
You gotta really plan it.
Yeah.
And check a couple of years before.
You gotta graduate with 123 credits.
The same thing.
And you only had
so that one credit messes up.
You won't graduate. You have to get if it's a 4-year college, not the associate program, get a bachelor's degree. So I did a field study for 1 credit. Yeah. What did you do?
Mine was a whole class though. I was missing for some reason.
A whole class, okay.
Oh, you had to do 3 credits?
Yeah.
The colleges are very funny about things like that. But as you said before, you have to keep up with your own coursework as well. Yeah. Because in some cases, and I know my daughter went to college in Virginia. She went to Norfolk State, and Norfolk State did not keep good records. Every time I turned around, I had to get upset with someone in that admissions office or the finance office about whatever, you know. Well, this paperwork wasn't signed. You have to get down here and you have, I said, listen, I'm in New Jersey. I have a full-time job. I can't just pick up and fly down there because
And
you don't
things
have
were
your
not
records.
digital back then.
No, they weren't.
Yeah.
It was
right.
probably misfiled. You want me to read any more?
Thank you for
Did you
sharing.
finish that? How much more for that chapter?
Well, but this was just the beginning.
Oh, that was just the
That's the
beginning?
beginning of
about
chapter.
college, right?
It's just the beginning of chapter.
You're in high school? Okay. And how many more years before college?
I don't know if I want to say that actually.
No, that makes good sense if you have not made your mind up. You know, college ain't is all what it's cracked up to be. You can become highly successful and not go to college. There are so many people who follow their passion.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
That's true.
Right, right.
So you're gonna stop there?
It's up to you. It's up
You
to
wanna
you where
read
you want me to
next?
stop.
Who wants to
Because-
read next?
Okay.